Alright, in this video we are going to talk about VLOOKUPs. Now, VLOOKUPs have different parameters that you have to pass through them in order to make the function work. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth on what exactly you have to pass through and what the expected result is for a VLOOKUP. So ultimately what you want to do with a VLOOKUP and what you're trying to do is you're trying to look into a table or a set of data and you're trying to pull a piece of information out of it. And the way that you do that is by looking up one of the rows in that array of data and then trying to return whatever is in that specific column. So that's, Excel talk, but what does that mean? So over here we have an example before we go into what we actually pass through to the VLOOKUP. So I am going to look for ID number 2, and the value that I'm looking for here and that I'm passing through to it is the title. So what this says is it's asking me, and my formula does, is it looks in this array of data and it looks for the ID of 2 and then it passes either the first name, the last name, or the title back to this cell based on whatever parameters that I decide to put in. And that is what we see when we look at this formula here. That's what this VLOOKUP is attempting to do. So what do we have to look at? So VLOOKUP is the name of the function. The first thing that we have to pass is the lookup value. Now what is that? That's what we're ultimately looking for. What value are we trying to match from our table to try to output into another cell? So that's ultimately what we're looking for, is a lookup value. The next piece of information is the table array, or basically the set of data that we're looking for. Where are we going to be looking? What cells do we want to look at to try to find it? And after we have the row and we know which row we're going to look at in our table, what column am I going to look in? So what column do we want to tell Excel to look into? And that is simply just a number. And then the fourth piece of information that we need to pass through to the VLOOKUP is just the word true or the word false. I always use the word false because that means we're looking for the exact text, not, I believe it's approximate. So I always pass false because we're looking for what exactly we are putting in to our VLOOKUP value. So let's try to write this. I'm going to try to find the title, and I'm going to try to find the title for ID number 4. So if we type in here, I'm going to say equals VLOOKUP. I open my parenthesis. Now the first thing is lookup value. Now I'm going to use this ID. This is what I'm going to look for. Comma, and now what is the table that I'm looking for? I'm going to use the same table. I highlight all of it for this table, for this VLOOKUP. And then what is the column index number? Now I put these numbers at the top because I said before I'm looking for the title, which here is column number 4. The thing you have to remember is that the ID column, the column that you're trying to find the information and that you're trying to match, that starts the numbering of the column. That is column number 1. So you don't start at the first piece of information that you could possibly look for. ID column, or the first column, is column number 1. So column number 4 is going to contain my title. So I just type the number 4 and then I finish it with false. And that should show me assistant. That was what I was trying to find by looking at ID number 4. Now, just really quickly, what if I change this to the number 3? That is going to change. Now I'm looking at manager. So it's finding row 3 or ID 3 in this table, and it's passing what is happening or what is showing up in column 4 for manager. So let's, it's already kind of a little bit longer video, but let's go to an intermediate or a little bit of a harder example. So here I have multiple different IDs going on the side, and then I just have random amounts in different months by January through August. I have my column row, or have my column numbers here at the top, which each represent a month. So let's look here. I want to look for ID number 12-144, and I want April, May, and I want June's information. So without having to search through all of this data, let's just use a VLOOKUP and let's find those amounts for those particular months. So I have my formula up here just as a reference, but let's go equals VLOOKUP. And now my lookup value again is going to be this ID, comma, my table array. Now I'm just going to use the keyboard here. I want this entire table. I want all of it, so all 60 some rows. Use my comma there. Now let's get back up to the top. Now next is my column index number. Now I said I wanted April. So if I go to April, that is the 5th column. So I type by 5 and then false. Close parenthesis, 17,794. So if I go and I find 12-144 and I follow through to April, I see 17,794. So there it is. So what if I have multiple numbers that are multiple IDs for these particular months that I want to find? What is a quick way, as a quick little trick to try to find where those are and try to find these different values? We can do that by using our relative and absolute referencing as we're building this formula. So if I use my VLOOKUP formula again, my lookup value again here is this ID, but so let's hit F4, and I want to lock in the column M. I want it to move when I go up and down, but I want it to keep column M. And my table array is my same table, all of it. I'm going to hit F4, and I'm going to lock the entire table, and so this table is not going to change no matter where I move my formula to. And then my column index number for April again is going to be 5. But let's do a quick trick. Let's just put, let's highlight this this cell right here. I'm going to put the column index numbers up there. So I want to keep row 6. And now let's say false. Now I'm not going to get a value because there's nothing up here. It doesn't know what column to find. So for April, I want it to be column 5. And so now it finds what April's 12-148 ID is showing. 2599, 2599. And so now what that allows me, by using the absolute referencing that you can see up here, what that lets me do is I can now pull this down and I can pull it to the right. Now I don't have any values in here because I need my column numbers up at the top. I want April, May, and June, so that's easy. So it's 5, then 6, then 7. So my numbers fill in automatically because my formula is looking for the column index number up here. Now again, that's a little bit more advanced for using a VLOOKUP, but that's just showing you how quickly and easily you can kind of summarize information. Now, just to show how easy it can be, let's just go all the way to the bottom. Let's get a random number here, 12-195. If I go all the way back up to the top, let's put that here. Now, what's April, May, and June's amounts? And we just use that same formula, and that's where we get our information from. So that's what a VLOOKUP does. You tell it what you want it to find. You then get that information from a table, where it's easiest just to tell Excel to look up the value and find whatever information is that you're looking for. That's how you can kind of use it to your advantage. That's how you can find either months of revenue quickly, or any other type of information that you're going to be looking for. We can get into a little bit even more detailed and a better use of the VLOOKUP in a later video, but let me know if you have questions, and I hope that makes sense.